provide an opportunity is not to give them favoritism. Because, again, eventually they have to perform. But at least to be able to go ahead where a kid who's Asian, who grows up in the United States, is born in the United States, says to himself, hey, this avenue is not foreclosed to me just because I'm Asian.
Yeah.
Well, recent example, I think we talked about that too, Jeremy Lin.
Right, from Harvard. He's a great example.
He is. Jeremy, I'd actually had seen play. I'd heard stories about him, but I had never seen him play. And he played in the state final, and he played against Mater Dei. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm not a Mater Dei fan. And the reason is because it's not a level playing field for Mater Dei because they can actually recruit.
Right.
So they give, it's a private school. And so they could literally go anywhere and recruit players. And they give them essentially free tuition. So at one time, they had the Ware twins, these two 6'10" twins. It's amazing, the 6'10" twins. I actually met the tallest twins in the world. Those were the Eaton brothers. They're like 7'4" or something, just gigantic people.
Right.
But the Ware twins, and what Mater Dei did at the time is they actually gave the twins' father a job. All right.
Oh.
And so and they built an arena that a D-League team could play in there. It's that good.
Incredible.
So they have this incredible advantage. And then when they play in the state tournament, they actually drop down a level, all right, to even play a low. They're not in the highest level. So despite all this, Jeremy Lin's Palo Alto team played Mater Dei in the final.
Right.
And I thought to myself, there's no way this is going to be a squash game. You know, Mater Dei was going to go ahead and do that. But instead, Jeremy Lin showed what a fantastic player he was. Jeremy Lin is a basketball player. He's not a guard, he's not a center, he's not a forward, he's a basketball player.
Right.
And he not only is a basketball player, he's a leader. And that team beat Mater Dei. And I think a lot of people don't understand what an achievement that was. This guy was a state champion. He led his team against really the most well-heeled, the most rich team or program in the entire state of California. He essentially played a prep school. And by the way, in California, you can't even have a prep school, but he essentially played a prep school.
Right.
Despite this, Jeremy Lin did not get a single scholarship offer from a Division I school.
Right. And only now, now that he's winning for Harvard, and he's getting a lot more exposure now because of his race. Now, is this positive or negative for his future in the NBA? What do you think?
Well, I think that in Jeremy Lin's situation, you really have to give him a lot of credit for persevering over this.
Yes.
Jeremy Lin is the epitome of a student athlete, and that's what you have to be when you go to a school in the Ivy League where you can't even get a scholarship. Right? So this guy's paying for his own way, and he's playing basketball. And I played basketball in college. And you know what? That's a tough thing because it's not like high school. You go out there, you practice a couple hours, you go home. Wrong, okay? In college, you're running, and then you're running some more, and then you're weightlifting, and then you play basketball.
Yeah, it's your life.
Right, and then for him to be a student at such a fine academic institution.
Absolutely.
So he shows you his distinction in both these areas. Yet, despite that, it really baffles me that he didn't get a single Division I scholarship. And I can tell you right now, there are a lot of Division I teams that are not very good.
That's true.
All right?
That's true.
That Harvard could easily beat. Yet how he cannot get that, to me, is really outrageous.
Well, we need to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'd like to talk about Jeremy Lin because I want to get your point of view, see if it's an NBA material.
Welcome back to Community Roundtable. I'm your host, Marissa Wall, with my co-host, Henry Huang. And we have today Mr. Gino Kwok, the first Asian American NBA team owner. Now, before the break, Gino, we were talking about Jeremy Lin, who is the star basketball player on the Harvard team. Now, I personally think that he's being overlooked because of his race, but do you think that he's NBA material?
Well, I think that there's no doubt that he's got the skill to play. And there's no doubt that he's earned the right to have an opportunity to play. But we do live in a world of stereotypes. And to be fair about that is human minds use certain mechanisms to make sense of the world. And stereotypes, there are certain things about them that are sometimes true and sometimes they're not true. In the situation that I would say on my team when I had Ha, who's 7'4", I can honestly say that my coach had never had a 7'4" Asian guy as one of his players. And with respect to Jeremy, there have not been any Asian guards that have ever been any good. And if you take a look at all the Asian players that are playing in the NBA, they've all come from Asia. They're not born in the U.S. So there's another stereotype, with respect to that. And I think at the end of the day, you just got to take a look at what's factual. And what's factual was he just wasn't given a scholarship, which was ridiculous. I don't understand how that happens. I will say that in my lifetime, and when I say this, it might date me a little bit, but in my lifetime, there have been 2 Asians that have been really, really important to all Asians. The first one I would say would be Bruce Lee. Because before Bruce Lee, all Asians are, I shouldn't say that, so, I don't want to be kind of labeled that way either, right? But, there was at least a perception that we're kind of weak, that we didn't have any strength. And Bruce Lee certainly changed that because I had kids on the playground ask me whether or not I knew Kung Fu, when Bruce Lee came about. So I think that was a great thing.
Definitely.
The second one, well, of course, is Yao Ming. Before Yao Ming came along, nobody really thought that Chinese people were tall, right?
Right.
And so that was different. And I would like to think that Jeremy is somebody who will make a difference. Because at the what everyone wants to do is, hopefully, is to make an impact in life, make a difference. And what Jeremy is doing now, if he's successful, he opens the door for the player behind him.
That's right.
So that all of a sudden at that situation, you're able to go ahead and do that. And if I may, I have a cousin. His name is Richard Chang. And the reason I mentioned him was because back in the 80s, he was literally the best Chinese or Asian player in the world. He was 6'6", and he was the first Chinese player to play major Division I college. He actually played for Cal. And he was there at the time that Kevin Johnson was there. And he was spectacular in high school. He was good at Cal, but he didn't really have a chance. The only time that he ever had a chance was he had a tryout with the Golden State Warriors, and he didn't make the team. So I tell people like Yao and these type of people that, Richard made a difference because at least they saw an Asian, right? So it wasn't completely foreign when they walked through the door.
Right.
And what I told the Chinese Basketball Association in '96, I said, look, we have to measure this thing in steps. It's not going to be an overnight. So that's when I told them that we have to bring these players over, one by one. So we brought the team over in '96. And really one of the greatest accomplishments that I feel I contributed to was the fact that 96 team came in 8th place. And when that happened, Coach Gung called me up from Atlanta and he said, Gino, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of this. And the reason why was that was the highest place that the Chinese had ever had in basketball.
Wow.
And they never matched that. And I would tell you, back in the just concluded Olympic Games in 2008, what place did China come in? They came in 8th place. The same place. But what happened there? They had 4 NBA players, all right? They had Yi, they had Yao, they had Sun Yue, and of course they had Wang Zizi, right? So they had 4 NBA players, and they were playing on their home court in China, right? Massive home court advantage.